into prison or put up against a wall and shot.
No, they've already sold her body parts, I can guarantee it.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yep.
Hey, you have to realize they really figured out how to make money on body parts worldwide. I mean, let's face it, if you go to prison in China, the odds are you're going to be executed. They're really good. One bullet in the brain. And they have their medical team right there to start harvesting all your body parts.
If you have the money and you have the wherewithal to get transportation to China, you can buy a liver, a lung, a heart, you name it, and you can get it.
Fresh.
Yeah, I would love to see the stats on how many prisoners in China die of old age.
They don't.
It's kind of like gladiators in Rome, not too many,
Well, James, look at this. A heart of a 50-year-old is not worth as much as a heart of a 20 or 30-year-old. So guess what? You know, the odds are living in prison in China past a certain age. Come on. They sentence more people to death than Texas does.
Oh, yeah. It'd be like that movie, I forget what it was called, something, Logan's Run, where everybody dies at the age of 30, and they pretty much did the same thing.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that was who needed a new liver, and what he did is he actually looked into getting one in China. And if you had the financial wherewithal, no problem whatsoever.
Isn't that scary?
Well, it is scary because, it's basically murder for profit,
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine you're a prisoner in a cell, right? And you know what? You're a commodity. So today...
Yeah, exactly.
Today they need kidneys. Well, you happen to be the right match for as a unwilling donor to somebody in Czechoslovakia that has a lot of money and needs kidneys. You have the right kidney, right match. That's the day of your execution. Bang, like that.
I think James better start telling him that sugar frosted flakes makes your kidneys taste bad so that they won't,
Oh, it makes all your organs taste bad. Your eyesight's bad. It's all bad. You're on borrowed time. You don't want.
Why did I know that?
But I found some research too where Mexico kind of does the same thing on the real down low.
They do? How do they do it on a down low?
Well, pretty much, I think it goes through. I don't want to say who they are, but again, if you got the right money and the whereabouts and the know-how, you can get your organs, that you need, and doctors will do it. Where they get them from or how, I don't know. But Tom, if you got the money, you can buy whatever you want in this world.
Unfortunately, James, that's true. Money doesn't talk; it swears, and yeah, you're correct. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I tell you, society. I mean, I'm sitting back here, and it makes me really sometimes sick to call myself a human being. You know that.
Well, let me say this. I consider you and James and me and everyone in my band to be one of the good guys, and the reason that and gals, Val. Because, you have principles, you have ethics. You may say things that some people don't like, but you know what? You do have the right to say them, and I think that if it makes people uncomfortable, maybe they should do a little research on their own to figure out for themselves what the truth is. If you expand people's consciousness and awareness, and you have, as far as I'm concerned, your show has done its job.
Well, that's what I try to do. I bring guests on. There's some guests I get on, I totally don't believe anything they say, or I disagree with what they say. But you know what? As my friend, who's no longer with us, Art, would always say, it's entertainment. And you know what? You can't, just like, freedom of the press, you want to give the opportunity to somebody to say their own view. Now, like the other day we had somebody on the flat earth. Now, you want to hear something really funny, Tom?
I listened to that show.
You were one of the very few, because I'll tell you what happened. Okay, now, I don't know how many off the radio stations, because they come out quarterly with a book. It shows the rating, what show is doing good at such and such time on what station, and who's popular. And I actually was quite good on a couple of them. But here's the thing. On the internet, I can go on, because I have my own servers. I can see how many people are listening at a certain time. I also know what country, what city they're in. It also tells me how long they listened and when they went off, clicked off. Now, we had a huge number. When me and James were talking at the first hour, we had a large listenership. And then 10 minutes after we bring that guest on, there was only 300 people. Now, I started out with hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And ended up with 300 and some people. Now, I also then go on to a couple apps the next day, like Apple, their podcast, and it tells me how popular my show is for each day. And I look, and it's no rating, no nothing. It shows nobody was listening. And I send that to James. Then the next day I double check, nothing. Then the third day, nothing. Nobody listening. So I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend a little money and hype the show up, okay, and promote it a little bit. And then all of a sudden, a huge number, listened to it. But it cost me money. But the average person didn't, if they don't agree with your guest, and if the guest is a little too far out there, you don't have listenerships. It's as simple as that.
Here's something that, when you have a guest on like that, it's just like that one woman that you had on that supposedly had an encounter and then couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
I listened to that one too, and the thing that I do, but I guess I'm more of an extensional human being. I listen to what they have to say. I don't have to agree with it. Sometimes I think it's pure BS, but I still listen because that's how I was brought up. You don't have to agree with everybody, and I don't agree with everybody, but I at least let them advance whatever they're going to say, out of a courtesy more than anything else. You are probably one of the, and I'm not just saying this, I really mean it, you probably are one of the more tolerant people that are on the airwaves today, because you allow people to advance a thought process, whether you agree with it or not. You let them say what they have to say. You know what? That's what the Constitution, that's what the First Amendment is about. Yes, it's an entertainment program. Well, but if you're going to be entertaining, you have to present a point of view. You allow people to present that point of view. My hat's off to you.
Well, thank you. I learned this way back in the 70s when I first got into broadcasting. I believe that a guest has right, but if a guest like tonight was on earlier, he had a little bit to say, but he didn't have enough to go past the time limit of 30 minutes. Unfortunately, that's why I cut him, because I couldn't see it going any farther, and that occasionally happens. But you know what? There's some people I don't believe at all what they're saying, and they're out. I know some of them are out there trying to make a buck, selling their book or what have you. But I'm going to let them. It's up to the listener to make the decision. They shouldn't get mad at me because I brought somebody on. For example, believes we're living in a 20,000-mile box, and that aliens brought it, put us in this box, and we're living a fake world. I don't know. I don't even know what the guy was saying. I was so flustered after the first 10 minutes.
It was like the Matrix syndrome. He basically said that we're a computer matrix, and
no, it could be. I joked around. I said maybe an alien, zapped us, and maybe the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy wasn't far fetched when it was wrote.
Yeah,
maybe the Earth was in the way. So they took all the humans, right, the souls of the human, and put them on a computer program and blasted us, and they're letting us live as a memory on a computer game. I don't know.
Well, the only reason that I think it's an interesting theory, but the reason I don't buy into that is because you've had people like Terry Lovelace and other people that have experienced the things that they've experienced. I don't think that's part of a computer simulation. I think that's part of an agenda, a larger agenda. Okay, granted, it could be, but I don't know. I don't think that's the case. But I'm not going to totally rule it out.
Well, here's my feeling, and people will probably get mad. This is just mine. You have yours. James has his own view. I think that we are being visited. I think that they don't look at us any more than cattle. Simple as that. And they don't have any feelings for us when they examine us or do what they want, or if they take us and abduct us for some reason. I also, again, I have talked to people high up in the government that were high up in the government. Also, I had Mary Joyce on numerous times. She also verified what I heard from a person that she talked to that was high up in the government. They claim that some of these aliens are cannibals. They come down and they take us, and we're nothing more than protein.
Well, supposedly that's what Casey told Reagan about those tantraloids, is that they were really bad news, and that's what they were. They were, we were a food source, basically. So I think that Mary Joyce, and they supposedly had established underground bases, so she may have a very valid point. I know that there was another friend of mine that said, "Hey, have you ever heard of those people that are hearing what sound like trumpets, and then they hear an explosion?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "There's basically a war going on between technologies that we have in our own military and the tantraloids." And I just listened to what they had to say. I know that phenomenon. I know James has probably heard about that, but supposedly that's going on. And I think, I have to hearken back to Hamlet talking to Horatio about more things in heaven and earth that were dreamt of in Horatio's philosophy. I think we're surrounded by things that, whether we choose to look at them or not, I think they need to be looked at.
Okay, I got a message right here off of Messenger. Somebody's still listening to the show. They said, how do we know what's going on with Antarctica and the world in the whole isn't being engineered by aliens to destroy mankind?
We don't.
Well, I don't know. What do you think, James?
How do we know? I mean, we only know, unless you really can get out there, boots on the ground, do your own research and stuff. We only know what is fed to us, and then we got to try to discern what is good and bad and shady on top of that. It's hard out there nowadays to figure out what's going on, I'll be honest with you.
And how can you go on boots on the ground and get information? You're not going to be able.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen. And whatever.
You remember the last week of Obama's administration when Kerry was in the middle of a meeting in Europe and he rushed down to Antarctica all of a sudden because there was something down there that he had to go see as the Secretary of State?
Oh, I remember that, yes.
Yeah. What's going on down there? I mean, I've read a lot of articles about allegedly what's going on, and there's an awful lot of things happening, but I don't think they're ever going to divulge that.
Well, Linda Morton Howe says, quote unquote, they found this huge cave with advanced writings in the ceiling that also has a system of what do you call it, electronics in it, or with symbols that light up, a whole bunch of stuff they found that is technically so far advanced compared to anything that we have.
Yeah, matter of fact, she talked to I know that story. I seen it with her talking about it. She met with somebody. They was off camera. They didn't want to be seen, but he explained how there was a big underground thing there, and it was alien built, and it was been there, had all kind of things on it. It lit up, but there was no lights to it. Like the walls were lit. It was all kind of like you just said, and the military knew about it. Our military knew about it.
Yeah, it had symbols and all that weird technology in it.
Yep.
Probably that's where he went.
Well, I remember all the things that people over the